Okay, so let's do this. Hello, and you're listening to the Zone of Hot Truth, a weekly podcast where 4 aspiring DMs talk about their opinions, experiences, and hot takes in supposedly 15 minutes. I'm Kevin.
I'm Eric. I actually don't think I really enjoy flavored chapstick.
I'm John, and
do you eat it?
How do you actually taste the chapstick?
I'm Gran, and really, that's the best you could come up with, Eric? Just like chapstick? Like
my lips are chapped. It's getting cold.
Your lips look so moist now. I can't focus on this recording.
Just grab some chapstick.
I'm trying to make sure my lips are as strong as possible. I want them to be
strong for this 15-minute limit. All right, so our question.
Lips. Voluptuous.
Our question.
We're now a chapstick podcast.
Oh my god, I guess that's the case. Welcome to the Zone of Hot Chapstick. All right, so our question tonight that we're trying to answer is min-maxing a problem? So min-maxing can refer to a number of different things. What do we think, just as a kind of a hot yes or no?
Yes.
No.
No.
Yes.
Man, I'm, again, developing party lines. Party lines here. I want to hear why it's bad. Because I don't know why it's bad. It's players being players. Players wanting to be good at the thing. Tell me why it's bad.
All right, so I think I'll start this off just as like the kind of the key thing that I think ends up happening with a lot of min-maxing is it ends up towing the line of feeling like cheese is what happens. Like a lot of it is like they're edging to the edge case of what the rules allow in order to get a thing that all is on the borderline of breaking the mechanics of the game, circumventing the verisimilitude of the world at hand. Boom. That's why it's bad.
Okay. Is that
speechless?
Is it bad to cheese?
No. So.
Yes.
There's a difference between abuse. So there's a fine line that we're talking about here.
Exactly.
You're talking about like towing the line of abuse. Towing the line of abuse is an actual abuse. Trying to breaking the game is a problem. Getting a flying broom and then staying at 200 feet with sharpshooter and never actually engaging in any combat, that's cheese. That's not interesting. That's a problem. Hexadin, while extremely powerful, I don't think is like an issue. It makes other things look worse, but people are in it for different things.
Also, another thing to consider is that no matter what system you're using, no matter what rule set, no matter what edition, there's always a possibility to like achieve like what is theoretically like the strongest version of what the player set out to make. So no matter what rules you put in there, like min-maxing is always possible, and it's something all the players can do, and it's something a decent number of people will end up doing to some extent. Like it's just part of the game, and when all of the players are doing it, it's just kind of what the game is. That's just what you do. You make a strong character using the rules you're given, and you play the game with what you've done. Like, I don't see why that's a problem.
All players don't do that, and all players don't self-regulate that. So they might do something that is they perceive as fun for themselves, completely eliminating kind of the notion that the DM is also a player, and they try to do things to like break that what they're trying to build often. Okay, let me tell this story about something that I'm like, okay, here's the plot you do. Okay, let me make the strongest character like you suggested in the system that's completely above all the other people in your party potentially, and then utilize that to go against like aspects of the story. Okay, so like you're gonna go on a dangerous quest across the wilderness. I'm going to build a ranger and circumvent all of the mechanics associated with that, and like try and build the most ranger possible. Like there's like those kinds of things. Like, and often you're like, well, should you discuss that with the DM too? That's also kind of a thing there. That's what I mean in terms of self-regulation. It's like they feel entitled to making that kind of character as well.
Yeah, but if you take it to an extreme like that player is
it's not an extreme. That's a normal class. Yeah,
that's a normal thing.
Well, no, but in your example, you said making the most rangery ranger that ever rangered. That player it's probably going to be an insane ranger in terms of travel and their utility with that respect. But if you go all in with that, you're probably not going to be very good on a lot of other things, and you're going to need the party to pick up the slack for you. So, like, even if
not in 5e.
You have players min-maxing in one direction or the other, they're still going to be weak at something, and the party is still going to need to help them, and someone in the party is going to be better at doing something than you.
The big
I've
thing,
never
though,
seen that.
Yeah, I've never seen that either. And I've come across many players who are self-described MidMax Regulators, and then they slowly require my regulation. The big thing that I've seen with them,
Truth.
with people who want to absolutely min-max the Jesus out of something, is they make me feel as a DM like I am a computer. That I am. If you want to min-max your MMO character, by all means, do it. You want to min-max your Baldur's Gate 3 character, go for it. But when I'm hearing you at the table during character creation saying, okay, well, if I pick this race, I'll get a +2 to this, and this gets me this +5, and it just is like, okay, well, come on. You're asking me now to be a computer for you. You're no longer interested in me as a player and my contribute in the fact that we are doing what is self-described on the front cover, the greatest story,
As
one
he
of the
turns and looks at the books.
role-playing games.
He's pointing at the books.
Turning this into just me being a computer, me no longer being interested in your character. And there's almost nothing that gets me out of wanting to DM for somebody than the minute they start saying, well, if I play this race, then I will get this mechanic that allows my character to be 5% better. Kills my interest in their character. Absolutely kills it.
So I don't think that being a min-max necessarily completely eliminates the possibility of being interesting. I don't think that's fair at all. I can think of plenty of things that are, like, it is optimal to play a Wood Elf Ranger because you get a bump to Dex and a bump to Wisdom, the two things that Rangers need. But that's not... Stop putting on chapstick. It's weird now. I can't unsee it. I can't unthink that your lips taste like cherry.
His lips glisten.
It's cotton candy, actually. Like I said, it's flavored.
Oh,
I
God.
don't really want
Okay.
it.
Gross. But like that's not like. So if you want to tell me, I came prepared
You're
to
not
talk
saying
about.
anything.
Yes, I know. I got distracted by chapstick. I came
You
here
weren't
to
saying anything before
prepare.
that either.
Oh, fuck you! I was.
Shots
I came
fired.
here I came here to expecting to talk about. Oh man, fucking Hexadin is broken, and edge case is like edge cases like that. But like picking a good race that fits a class statistically, those usually pair up to be like thematically good. Like it is good to have a barbarian half orc. It is good to have a paladin dragonborn. That's not awful. It's not like, I don't see why that should reduce your interest.
And to hit on the point you said of, like, not all players min-max and do this, like, almost every single player is going to pick a race that gives them a +2 or a +1 to one of their primary stats. Like, if I'm making a wizard and I pick a race that gives me +1 or +2 to int, should I feel bad about that? Like, does that really lower your interest in my character if I do something as simple as picking a race that will make for a good base of a wizard and then trying to pick what are considered to be good spells instead of, like, bad spells just to make a weak character?
Well, it's because
I don't think optimization is bad.
It's not optimization. It's the fact that you just said, for example, weak spells. It's the idea that the only things worth taking is what is the statistically greatest. And after DMing for a lot of characters, it gets very boring when everything has to, if you have to go on a certain track. And to John's point regarding picking a character that is an on-type character, there's nothing wrong with that. What's wrong with it is...
You said it was wrong, though. You said made you feel bad.
No, it makes me feel bad when they're saying, okay, I have to pick this. If I pick anything but this, there's a difference between somebody who is making a character that works and that is just what they want to play, that happens to statistically work or it happens to be like that. But when they say, if I don't do this, my character is bad, I need to be playing a different character, or I want to play a barbarian, therefore I have to play this half orc. And because that likely involves bleed-in with other characters. They not only have to min-max themselves, but it creates a lot of pressure on other players when they're hearing somebody go, well, if I'm playing with these stats, I have to have this because this hits this. And that lowers morale of other players because now they're having to look at their sheets and thinking about this, let alone having to try to accommodate for the fact you have one person potentially with such a higher damage. It's almost always damage. Let's be real. Output that their Hex Sorcelock, who has just done a million short rests over the night, has a gajillion spell slots to smite the bejesus out of everything, and Story Druid, who is a very interesting character that I love DMing for, but if we're talking 5th edition it being a combat game, is utterly meaningless in majority of the situations compared to that.
Yeah. I want to reinforce that point that Eric it just made, because I was about to go in that direction in terms of, like I think a lot of the language associated with like the kind of the edging of min-max is that X things are bad, and saying things along those lines. It often falls line in line with min-maxing. And if you have players that are, with one another, and like if you have different levels, it's exactly as Eric said, like that kind of language detracts from those characters often, right? And whether it's meant to be the case or not, right? So that's one of the things that I don't like encouraging because of that.
Well, one thing
you should be able to play whatever you want.
One thing we also have to remember is players, they don't get the chance to play like 12 wizards in a row. Yes, some players will do that, but when a player is lining up for a new game, no, let's focus on the real crux of the issue. Like, with a lot of groups, you get 1, maybe 2 chances a year to like roll up new characters for a campaign that's going to last a while.
Sure.
So realistically, players are only getting to try classes 1, maybe 2 times over like half a decade. So is it really unreasonable as a DM to like try to hinder them from making what they think is the best version of a wizard, the best ranger, the best warlock? Because like that's their one shot to play the class they've been dying to play. Of course they're going to want to make it good. Like, why should we stop them? Or why would that be a problem?
Hinder's not the right verb there. Hinder implies that I'm trying to throw up walls to prevent their warlock from being good. I'm cool with their warlock being good. I always cheer for my players to accomplish amazing things and to have unique and engaging experiences. What I'm not interested in is Wally the warlock coming in saying, I've picked every feat for the next this levels, and if I don't get this magic item at this time, then my character build is crap, and I have to play a turtle because that gets me this AC, and this is, everything is calculated. And backstory? Yeah, I've written one, I'm sure, but the crux of the situation is this has to be this, because if not that, then bad. I'm never playing a warlock.
Unplayable is like the key thing that comes in. Yeah, like that's the key thing. You can play whatever character you want, but as soon as like I think like you start going in the direction of min-maxing to the point where like you consider everything else unplayable by proxy, it just, again, the language of that implies that if you're not doing the optimal thing, right, then it is bad. And I think that's kind of like one of the key things that I see with that, in addition to just like, and like it's a very thin line between something feeling like it is cheesing the system and being a good character.
So that's the thing that I think I can agree on. I really hate the unplayable talk. I have a player that thinks Druids are absolutely awful because they don't roll any damage dice, and I have to continually go through the conversation of, well, but that's not their thing. That's not what they do. They are utility and control. That's not bad. That's just not damage dice. And that's hard for min-maxers to wrap their head around. And so
I'm sorry.
Fuck.
That 15 minutes kind of snuck up on us for this one.
Yeah.
I spent too long talking about Chapstick.
Yeah, you took away from that
valuable seconds.
The conversation time. Maybe we'll edit more in chat. Or no, anyway, that post edit. So
it all stays.
why don't we just go around the horn and just kind of go ahead and give our answer to this question? So is min-maxing a problem?
Yes, I think it is a problem. It definitely is a problem, rather. And it kind of harkens back to something that I mentioned in our character creation episodes, which is it signals a lack of trust in me as a DM. Trust that I'm not going to make your character bad, and I'm going to try to empower your character in however ways. But when you come to the table expecting the stats to make your character a god, I fall asleep in my chair slightly.
I think it's fine to min-max. Don't fucking build Hexadins, Sorcedins, Source Locks Those are bad and evil. But wanting to play a strong character is not bad. You should not feel bad for wanting to play a strong character. Don't diminish other people's choices. Everything has an upside and a downside. Don't be assholes. Also, we're arguing over 5%. It comes out not being that big of a deal. Most times.
Min-maxing isn't bad, but just like with everything, it can be taken to the extreme. It's possible for anything that is inherently good to be abused, but the average player, min-maxing isn't a bad thing, and I think it's fine. I don't think it hurts the game, and I think most players, to some extent, even if they don't really know it, will end up min-maxing some aspect of their character to some degree, and that's just part of the game.
Yeah, so I'm a min-maxer. I will maximize the shit out of my character to try and get like what I want out of it. But I think for me, I have to have a conversation with the DM. So like in that case, that's why I think it tends to be bad, because if we're talking about like average players, that's not usually the issue. The issue is like the one player who takes it to the extreme. I think, and that's usually like where I find the issues lie. But that's what I think. Well, all I have to say to you all is thank you for listening, and keep rolling those dice.
Keep using that chapstick.